It's been a dozen long years since my world was emotionally turned upside down. Reflecting on it now, I see how much my tone and attitude have changed over that time. I recall the days when my partner and I enjoyed a nearly flawless marriage. We met in college, fell deeply in love, and soon after graduating, we tied the knot. I was a jock, playing football and baseball, while she was stunningly beautiful and incredibly intelligent. Together we did everything, socializing, pursuing hobbies, and weathering storms as a united front. Life, however, is never without its challenges. We supported each other through family tragedies and health scares, including her battle with cancer and my heart condition. We truly were partners in every sense of the word, and our love for each other continued to flourish. As our careers advanced, we upgraded our homes within the same school district and indulged in a lake house, creating countless cherished memories with our children. Despite our busy lives, we never neglected planning for the future, saving for our children's education, and achieving debt-free status in the final years of our marriage. As a family, we were always on the move: vacations, camping trips, date nights, bowling with friends. Staying busy and engaged amidst the chaos of daily life, we never lost sight of our love. We made a conscious effort to nurture our relationship, and that commitment yielded countless rewards. Certainly, no relationship is flawless, and we had our share of disagreements. Yet, we consistently approached those moments with love and respect, steering clear of anger or shouting. We functioned as a team in the truest sense, and our partnership brought us endless joy and fulfillment. Reflecting on it now, I realize our happiness was built on a foundation of hard work, dedication, and commitment. I'm certain my wife would have agreed. Our love was robust and only strengthened with each passing day. Our children, a son and a daughter, separated by 2 years, illuminate our lives with their radiance. Their presence has brought immeasurable happiness and affection. As they matured and formed their own families, our contentment expanded even further. Our son showcased an innate athleticism akin to his father's, which his coaches and I guided onto the right path, ultimately earning him a baseball scholarship. Our daughter, on the other hand, excelled as a choir member and cheerleader. Despite her youth, she displayed remarkable maturity and composure, filling us with pride at every turn. As a father, my daughter's special bond with me was a treasure. She was always known as Daddy's girl. However, when she entered her teenage years, our relationship began to falter. She distanced herself from me, and I couldn't seem to connect with her no matter how hard I tried. It was a painful period, but I knew she still loved me deep down. Fortunately, this arduous phase didn't last forever. Our relationship gradually mended, and we once again became close. I will never forget the immense pride I felt as she approached the culmination of her high school journey. Our union was a fairy tale come to life. I exhausted every strategy in my arsenal, from lavishing her with endearments and attention to attempting novel undertakings as a team. I went to extreme lengths to enhance my physical appearance, hopeful that it would reignite her harder for me. However, it felt like grasping at smoke. The more I tried, the more elusive the solution appeared. My spouse became increasingly distant, and a sense of foreboding enveloped me. When she expressed her desire for divorce, my world crumbled. How could this be happening? What had gone wrong? The shock and perplexity were insurmountable, not only for me but for our children as well. I could sense the pain and confusion in my own words as if it was seeping through the screen. Losing someone so important, so integral to my life, was a pain that I wouldn't wish on anyone. The fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of what was happening to my marriage, was evident in every sentence I uttered. One night, I sat down with my wife and asked her if everything was okay. At first, she brushed off my concerns, telling me that she was just tired from work and that it was nothing to worry about. However, I knew my wife better than that and persisted until she finally broke down and told me the truth. She had been feeling disconnected from me for some time and wasn't sure if she was happy in our marriage anymore. I was stunned. I had no idea that my wife had been feeling this way. I asked her what I could do to make things better, but she didn't know. She just knew that something had to change. Over the next few weeks, I worked hard to reignite the spark in our relationship. I planned romantic dates, surprised her with small gestures of kindness, and made an effort to listen to her when she spoke. Slowly but surely, my wife began to respond to my efforts. We started laughing together again, sharing our hopes and dreams, and working through our problems as a team. I had tried everything I could think of to save it, but nothing seemed to be working. The desperation in my voice was palpable, my heart breaking with every passing moment. I knew I had to do something, but I was powerless to stop the inevitable. The inability to ask my wife if she still loved me highlighted the vast emotional distance between us. The notion of someone else causing our separation only struck me during a coffee meeting with her best friend, and even then, I clung to denial. Symptoms like loss of appetite, trouble sleeping, and constant crying portrayed a man witnessing his world crumble, helpless to halt it. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of despair, unable to see a way out. The image of me lying on the floor, gazing at the ceiling for hours with my dog's head on my chest, was both heartbreaking and heartwarming. It served as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, someone or something could offer comfort and solace. My beloved pet sensed my pain and provided a sense of peace and support. It was evident I loved my wife deeply and would have done anything to save our marriage. Feeling helpless and out of control testified to how much I cared. It unfolded as a tragic tale of lost love, a fractured marriage, and a man left to pick up the pieces of his shattered heart. Recounting my story, I couldn't help but feel a sense of empathy and compassion for myself, for the pain and loss endured. Losing my beloved wife felt like an unceasing wave of torment crashing over me. Each day became a battle to rise without her at my side, rendering the love, time, and effort we devoted to each other seemingly futile. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't reconnect with her or mend our bond. Divorce, an inevitable and bitter reality, was something I was unwilling to confront. The prospect of losing her entirely, even as a friend, was devastating. Feeling inadequate as a spouse, unable to meet her needs, and incapable of preserving our marriage, the pain persisted. Yet, in spite of the pain, we remained amicable and respectful throughout, resolved to avoid inflicting more hurt. Dividing our possessions was a bittersweet experience. Together, we had toiled diligently to create a life we could both take pride in, and now it was being partitioned and sold. The memories formed in those two residences would forever be a part of me, but the idea of returning without her was intolerable. The finality of signing the divorce papers was gut-wrenching. I could see the tears in her eyes, and I knew she was hurting just as much as I was. It felt like a final goodbye, as if a piece of my heart was being ripped out. The pain of losing a long-term partner is enduring, leaving a scar that time may soften but will always remain. Amid the hurt and heartbreak, I hold on to the good times we shared and the love we once had for each other, finding some comfort. The bittersweet reality of watching your daughter grow up and get married is a feeling no parent can escape. As I sat there surrounded by the people I love, a sense of melancholy crept up on me. My daughter, my little girl, was getting married and starting a new chapter in her life. It was a joyous occasion, of course, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness deep within my heart. Then a magical occurrence unfolded. My daughter took a seat beside me, her head resting on my shoulder, and we engaged in conversation, laughter, and reminiscence about old times. It was a beautiful moment, one I knew I'd treasure forever. As we sipped our scotch, gazing into the flickering flames of the fireplace, a profound sense of gratitude washed over me. I felt thankful for my daughter and her fiancé, for my family and friends, and for the love surrounding me. Despite the ongoing healing from my divorce, I recognized the need to keep moving forward and find happiness wherever I could. But in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the love of my family, I felt content. I knew that everything was going to be all right, and that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would always have the support and love of those closest to me. Approaching the end of our conversation, my daughter and I began to delve into more serious topics, and that's when she brought up the divorce. It was something we hadn't really discussed in depth before, other than addressing logistics. However, this time we delved into the emotional aspects of it. I asked my daughter, now a grown woman, what it was genuinely like to live with me, and acknowledged that I knew I wasn't a perfect parent. It was a risky question, but one I felt compelled to ask after the divorce. To my surprise, my daughter opened up and shared that at times I could be intense and had high expectations. She admitted they all worried about disappointing me, but she also added that she knew I loved and protected them and would always be there. In fact, she even giggled as she shared that they used to affectionately refer to me as Sergeant Dad or the Sergeant. I acknowledged that I wasn't always the most emotionally open person, but reassured her that I cared deeply for them, even if not always overtly expressed. It was then that she shared something that left me stunned. She hoped her new husband would be as good a husband and father as I am, and wished that I could find someone who made me happy and didn't cheat like Mom. That's when it hit me. My daughter thought I knew about my wife's infidelity all along. She disclosed knowing about my ex-wife's cheating before our divorce and assumed that I had been aware all along. I was in disbelief and asked her why she hadn't told me before. She explained, presuming I knew more than she did, and that's why I had divorced Mom. She also shared that it was a really difficult time for her, and she had purposely avoided the topic with me other than making sure I was okay. I hugged her tightly and thanked her for standing by me throughout everything. She would always be my little girl. I asked her when it had happened and how long it had been going on for. She didn't know for sure, but guessed that it started a month or so before Mom first mentioned divorce. I also asked if her brother knew, and she confirmed that he did. In fact, he was the one who did some social media research and suspected there might be someone else. I was amazed at how perceptive my kids were. It all started to make sense why my children were so cold to their mother and so sympathetic to me during all of this. I hugged my daughter tight, grateful for her honesty and her love. She was the only thing that made sense in my life right now. As I held her close, I knew that I needed to be strong for her and for my son. They were the only reasons I had left to keep going. My ex-wife's betrayal wrought profound changes. It altered how I perceived her, myself, and the world. It felt as if a part of me had perished, leaving me clueless about recovery. All I knew was the necessity to persist, to keep moving forward, even if only one step at a time. The night her affair was exposed marked a pivotal moment. Until then, I strived for civility during our divorce proceedings, but now uncertainty clouded my actions. Racing thoughts deprived me of sleep that night. Reflecting, I noticed her enhanced self-care, more frequent hair and nail treatments, purchasing nicer clothes, and dedicating more time to her makeup. Initially, I assumed it was an effort to keep pace with younger colleagues at work, only now realizing it likely signaled preparation for her affair. The truth surfaced: my ex-wife had already found someone else, another man. The rejection was already challenging, but this betrayal cut much deeper, shattering my world once again. My daughter showed me the other man's Facebook page and other sites. I discovered he was an executive at one of my ex's larger accounts. Though his posts didn't mention my ex by name, they strongly suggested an infatuation with someone sounding exactly like her. Despite my daughter's comment about him not being as good-looking as me, seeing my ex-wife with someone else was painful. I immediately severed all communication with my ex-wife, ignoring texts and calls, even avoiding contact with her friends. The fact that her best friend never followed up made me wonder if she had been aware of the affair all along. But one night, overwhelmed with anger and hurt, I broke into my ex-wife's house, determined to destroy everything in sight. I smashed her belongings, poured bleach on her clothes, and defaced her family photos. I wanted her to feel the pain and betrayal I had experienced upon discovering her infidelity. Amid my destructive rampage, my ex-wife suddenly appeared. Expecting outrage and authorities to be called, I was surprised when she looked at me with a mix of sadness and pity. Her response shocked me. Anticipating anger and bitterness, she instead showed compassion and understanding. She asked for my forgiveness, confessing that she had cheated on me and was too ashamed to tell me during the divorce. At that moment, my anger dissipated. I realized my ex-wife had been suffering as well, and my actions had only caused more pain. A week later, my daughter got married, and both my ex and I attended. Still feeling angry and hurt, I tried to focus on my daughter's special day. Despite losing over 20 pounds due to stress and increased workouts, I felt good in my tailored tux. As I walked her down the aisle, during the ceremony my ex looked stunning, wearing everything she knew I liked. Despite this, I didn't say a word to her, still angry about her deception. I pulled away when she tried to hold my hand during the vows. I also ensured that our thighs and shoulders didn't touch during the picture session. I didn't engage with my ex, focusing on joking with my daughter and everyone else. When we got to the reception, I was relieved to find prearranged seating, so I sat next to my daughter. My ex was seated a few chairs down, which must have been difficult for her at that point. I don't think she realized I knew about her affair. I made no mention of my ex in my heartfelt father of the bride toast, treating it as if she played no role in raising our daughter. During the father-bride dance, despite her tears, I intentionally avoided looking in her direction. Although we were supposed to dance with both sets of parents, I chose to skip it entirely. The rest of the evening was spent joyfully with my daughter, son, and new son-in-law, successfully sidestepping my ex. I didn't witness her departure, so I'm uncertain how long she stayed, but she appeared melancholy every time I saw her. Though a challenging experience, it taught me much about myself and my ability to navigate tough situations. While it might not have been my proudest moment, I believe I did what was necessary to safeguard my emotional well-being. It was a bitter pill to swallow when, after over 28 years together, she opted for someone else during a difficult period in my life. However, I've made significant strides since then. As my counselor foresaw, I had to adapt to living alone and rediscover my purpose. Despite the initial difficulty, I can genuinely say the pain has dissipated. Instead, I dedicated myself to crafting a space that truly reflects me. I transformed my house into a dream haven, adding a third bay in the garage for my Harley Softail with a deuce seat and an ATV. Riding has always been a passion, but my ex prohibited me from having a motorcycle. Now I enjoy the freedom to ride whenever I please. I upgraded my kitchen and living areas with the latest amenities, yet my favorite part remains the man cave in the basement. With a top-of-the-line sound system, video facilities, wet bar, and quality gym, it provides everything I need to unwind. Sitting in my recliner, listening to classical or old rock music, something my ex never allowed me to play loudly, is a true pleasure. My house has become the go-to spot for game days, where friends and family gather to watch multiple games simultaneously, akin to a sports bar. I even set up a playroom for my grandkids, furnished with a TV and toys. I cherish the moments spent with my grandkids and their parents when they visit regularly. Just last week, we had a delightful pumpkin carving party. My ex would have enjoyed it. I'm contemplating getting another dog for companionship, especially with the grandkids around. Additionally, I installed a remote wood-burning furnace with a heat exchanger, efficiently heating my home mostly from my own timber. It's not only cost-effective, but also keeps me active during colder months. In conclusion, despite the painful past, I'm thankful for the chance to rebuild my life and create a home I adore. I've discovered new passions, enjoyed time with loved ones, and forged memories that will endure. It's been 12 years since my ex-wife left me for another man, and I've accepted that she chose him over our 28 years together. Initially painful, as my counselor predicted, I learned to live alone and redefine my life's purpose. I turned my house into a dream haven, adding a third garage bay for my new Harley Softail and ATV. The kitchen and living areas received modern upgrades, and the basement became my sanctuary, a man cave with top-notch entertainment, a wet bar, and a gym. I also created a special playroom for my grandkids, furnished with a TV and toys. Hosting events like our recent pumpkin carving party has become a joy, and I'm even considering getting another dog for companionship. Regarding my romantic life, I've discovered the enjoyment of being single and re-entering the dating scene. Initially, my friends' partners attempted to set me up with other women, but I resisted. However, almost 2 years later, I yielded to a double date urged by my kids. It was initially awkward, but now I have ongoing relationships with several remarkable women. Dating in my 50s and early 60s differs from my youth. There are numerous smart, attractive, unattached women my age and younger, seeking attention from a relatively healthy man. You don't need to be a superstar. Being respectful, attentive, confident, and most importantly, fun is crucial. I'm entirely honest about not wanting a wife or an exclusive relationship. I exercise caution and am highly selective, avoiding married women or seeking only one-night stands. I must genuinely like her, have fun, enjoy her company, and sense the same reciprocation. I take them to concerts, ball games, camping, backyard cookouts, dinner, theaters, and other activities before getting too close. Adjusting to the idea of non-exclusivity and not succumbing to jealousy or possessiveness took time. I realized I can't control my partner, and that's okay. It's part of the arrangement. I enjoy dating without the pressure of exclusivity, refreshing for both me and my lady friends. If something more closeness happens naturally, that's great, but I don't pressure or seduce them into it. I have a couple of longtime lady friends with whom I've never been close, and that's okay too. Overall, I'm living my best life, grateful for the experiences and people within it. Being a private pilot for many years, I relish flying my own small, experimental amateur-built plane. Unfortunately, my wife never shared my passion. To address this, I've invited each of my lady friends to fly-ins and short trips. I even take them on breakfast or lunch trips on my Harley, a popular outing known as the $100 hamburger. Each of these special women has her own passions, and I've tried to share in those as well. I've climbed Mount Baker after months of training, earned my PADI open water dive certificate, and even gone skydiving in tandem with them. Surprisingly, I enjoyed attending the opera with one of them. However, my most memorable experience involved crashing wedding parties at city parks, mingling with guests, enjoying their offerings, contributing to collections, and throwing $100 in the collection jar or money tree. Although I spend a lot of time with these women, more often than not, I'm home alone or cuddling with one while watching Netflix or listening to her favorite music. The point is, these women push me to do things I would never have done on my own. I still struggle with wanting these women exclusively, especially the wedding crasher who is the whole package. But I know I cannot allow myself to think that way. Shortly before COVID, I went on a 7-day cruise with 3 attractive women. I had only dated and been close with one before the trip, but all 3 were fun and flirty. We laughed and had the best time, going on day excursions and dancing and partying on the ship every night. It was probably the best vacation of my life, except for some memorable trips with our preteen kids. At the end of the cruise line representative approached me and asked if I would like to go on future cruises at unbelievable discounts. Apparently, they needed more older, single men to dance and interact with all the single ladies and widows. As flattering as it was, I couldn't help but feel like a gigolo. Though I'm living my best life, I acknowledge that my ex-wife may not be as fortunate. I've heard that her relationship with the other man endured for about 3 years. Nevertheless, I didn't delve into the specifics or inquire if they lived together. It's no longer my concern. I started responding to her texts and emails around 5 years ago to accommodate my kids, but our communication mostly revolves around sharing information and pictures about the kids and grandkids. My ex-wife expresses a desire to discuss the divorce and the affair, answering any questions I may have. However, I lack the inclination to delve into those details. I see no benefit, so I simply disregard those particular emails. We've encountered each other at weddings and funerals, exchanging polite greetings. The last in-person conversation occurred at our newest grandson's christening. She still looked attractive but older, as we all do. We spent over 2 hours discussing the grandkids and reminiscing about fond memories. Though I occasionally mourn the loss of my marriage, these are undeniably the golden years. The duration of this phase remains uncertain, but my ex-wife and I have recently committed to supporting each other as we age. She is the mother of my children and the grandmother of my grandchildren, and we were married for 28 years. We've even signed HIPAA and medical directive forms for each other. While we are no longer a couple, my daughter has observed that I am more content and easygoing than before. The change I attribute to my retirement last year. The liberation from job pressures and office politics has significantly impacted my daily attitude. These are genuinely the golden years, and I'm grateful for this newfound freedom. Occasionally, I still lament the end of my marriage, especially when confronted with old photos or places that evoke memories of our shared past. Recently, my ex-wife has invited me to dinner at her condo or on a date, a topic my daughter has brought up several times. Interestingly, my ex isn't involved with anyone and hasn't been for years, raising questions about the purpose behind their sudden interest in my social life. While intrigued, I approach the situation cautiously. I'm uncertain if there's a collective effort against me, but I trust my daughter's intentions, knowing she would never allow me to be hurt again. In any case, I am content with my current life, whether single or in a relationship. I cherished my married life with my wife and now appreciate the freedom of my single life. Whatever unfolds, life continues, and I'm assured that I will not be alone in my old age, regardless of whether I reunite with my ex.